where I was going with the beauty and all that is I actually have had people on social media say, you talk about your wife's beauty too much. Because I always call her my hottie or my good looking. Wow. And they're like, doesn't she have other attributes? I've had to say several times, not once, not twice. I'm telling you, I've had several others. And I'll tell you my response. My response is simple. The others, she gets every day at home. She knows she's a good mom. I tell her that. I tell her she's an incredible wife. Every day she hears accolades, and most people know that. When they've been around my wife, they'll always say, oh, your wife is so great. She's so good. But the one thing I better not hear another man say is she's hot. You know? Yeah, one thing that she better not have another man say is that she's beautiful. But I say that all the time because she is to me, and I want her to know that I absolutely find every curve, every part of her beautiful inside and out. So if anybody ever is looking on social media and you want to know why I say that, all my kids know too. They'll go, "That's Dad's hottie." You know, my kids know it. Oh yeah, that's the.
I've had that comment where on Facebook people say, "Brave about your wife too much," and oftentimes they'll tell her that, and she goes, "I think sometimes it's just a jealousy."
Yeah.
And
well, and I get that maybe they like in some of mine they were, hey, she does all these other things, right, but the thing is I agree with that she hears those all the time. She sees the results in those. Yeah. She knows she's a good mom by the results in our 6 kids, right. and I affirm that all the time with her. You know, in our prayer time and our daily discussions that we have every day, I can tell her. But when I'm out in the public sector, I want people to know. 2 reasons, because I want them to see that I do think she's beautiful. Right. But it's kind of like the reason I wear my wedding ring and make sure it's very visible when I'm at the gym. Right. Because there's a tendency of singles to show up at the gym, and if they don't see a ring, guess what they think? There's an available guy.
But there's also part that my dad's generation, we never heard that. We never heard the "I love you." We never. I wouldn't say never, but it was more of a silent generation. And so what you're doing in front of others can be a little uncomfortable because oftentimes we didn't hear that. And so in some ways I commend you because by acting that out, by sharing that, it gives Scott and I an example to go, we need to do that as well. You know, and could we do that better? And it's so easy to go, yeah, I don't know if I could do that, you know, but it's...
Well, I do it intentionally, and I very much do it intentionally because I want her to feel... Part of it, too, is she came from a divorce. Right. Not from her own life, but her mom and dad.
Right, exactly.
And when her mom and dad had been married, I want to say 15, 20 years, I don't remember exactly, one day her dad basically walked up and said, I'm gone. I've got another house 2 blocks down the road, basically, and I've got another woman. And Amy was, 14, 15 at the time, so very impressionable as a young woman, right? Yeah. And in her mind, the most trustworthy person, her dad, who was a rock-solid attorney, respected by everybody, just walked out. And so, for me...
She's at fault for that, in her mind.
I don't think she thinks it at fault, but I think that there's the plant of, my husband is like my dad, right? I mean, that's the male figure, right? And he loved my mom, but he still left. Why did he leave? Was it because of her beauty? Was it because she didn't serve enough? And so you can take that from different aspects of her mom. Her mom is an incredible person.
Right.
The truth is, it was just her dad's sin in his personal life that led to that, right? I mean,
kids can sometimes, when that goes down, you're like, what did I do to screw up mom and dad?
Yeah, I don't think it was so much that as when we got married, I saw that there was this intentionality at the beginning. In fact, when we first got married, I actually had to go to her dad and say, you're going to have a conversation with your daughter. And he was like, what? And I encouraged Amy to meet with him. Okay, and I didn't even know him very well. I mean, here he's a big-time prosecuting attorney for St. Louis City, blah, blah, blah. Did not matter because I could tell she needed to get some stuff off her chest. But what would happen when we got married is that she would be scared. Like if I didn't come home right around 5 or 6 when I had to work late, my dad left me with another woman. mine starts going, I would show up. I mean, and I'd be working all the time. I'd have other guys around me. Be 7 o'clock, she'd be crying, whoa, 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 whoa. You know, and she couldn't vocalize it, but I knew it. Once I got more and more of the backstory, I started to understand this was causing her to really question on our brand new relationship because of her dad. And so that's why I said you need to work things out, and they did. Over time, she was able to move past that because she learned that my faith was much, much different than her dad's faith. My example of what godly manhood looks like is much different. Of course, a few years after that, in Wild at Heart, got my anger and some other things that I'd brought into our marriage. My luggage, right? I mean, that was some of her luggage. My luggage was my dad's anger issue and the way of handling stress. God, through His providence, orchestrated all that, and then, you know, I would say about 5 years into our marriage is when I really started seeing our marriage start to move from the honeymoon, you know, not understanding things, to this deep spiritual connection. That today I can say after 22 years, not you're 40 yet, but I can say after 22 years that there is nobody I'd rather travel this life with or spend life with than my wife. She is my beauty. She is my helpmate, my best friend.
Yeah.
So
Well, so I think that's amazing. You may not realize it, but you're not just doing it for your wife. You're doing it for your daughters
oh, absolutely.
equally as much.
Well, I mean, that was her example for hers, and
Right.
absolutely, I'm the example. I heard it once said that your daughters will look for you as a dad in the boy that they're meeting. They're like 90. I think I read that somewhere, maybe in some kind of a youth group thing that I used, you know, back when I thought it was like 90% of all women look for key characteristics of their dad in the male that they choose, and women look for 90%. Our men will look for 90% of the traits of their mother in the woman they choose. And so that doesn't mean that they're identical.
Did we
Often,
marry our mom?
no. Often, what you'll find is, yeah, certain characteristics. They'll, you know, like you may not like certain things about your mom. Like my mom speaks a lot. Amy's not a much more slower speaker than my mom, but they both love serving. They both, you know, there's certain characteristics that if you look down, especially the ones that I really drew from my mom, you would find those in my wife. Some of the great things that
she did, yeah, definitely.
there were certain things that my mom did that when I was looking for a helpmate, those were some of the things that I wanted in a helpmate. And then obviously there's a few flaws, you know, and as I said, probably 10% of what I didn't appreciate about my mom or didn't like personally, obviously my dad did, that did not look for it in my wife. But they say about 90%. I've read about 80 to 90% of key characteristics that you'll find in your helpmate are things that you know, from a male found in their mom and from a female found in her dad. So to
Yeah.
ace your point, yeah. How about you and your wife? I mean, how did you guys meet? I know you guys met young.
Yeah, we met on vacation.
Okay.
14. She was 15. Her mom had been recently divorced, and we had been going to vacation with family friends for a while, and our family friends that we went to invited her mom and children on the trip just to, things aren't going great, let's go on a vacation,
Yeah.
So we met down there, and then, the years passed and got connected again. And then we dated for like a year before she went off to college. And she went off to college, broke up with me. Then we got back together and got married at 22.
Okay. Now, I didn't realize, I guess I hadn't known her well enough to know that she had come from a divorce. I knew that, kind of from the Arnold connection, we've had those conversations. But so coming from a divorce, was there anything in your young marriage that peaked out from that, do you think? Or was it maybe not yet because of the whole ball thing? Or, like she had matured past that?
Yeah. Not even so much. I mean, yeah, there's stuff from the divorce that has affected her up until recently. Will affect her.
Right. I mean,
you raised her whole life, but yeah, just a lot of good things come from fathers and a lot of bad things. fathers. And you can have a really good father and still pick up bad things from a really good father.
Amen.
You can have a really bad father and only pick up his good things.
Right.
So there's no telling who your kid's going to be based on who you are, but you're giving them way more opportunity to develop into a young man if you're showing those characteristics of being a man to them at a very early age.
Did that